In Xianyang, Qin Shi Huang stands atop a newly built palace, staring at a map that stretches from the Yellow River Basin to the Great Wall in the north. Every major kingdom, Hanzhao, Weichu, Yanqi, has fallen. His legions have marched across open plains, stormed walled cities, and crushed aristocratic resistance with brutal efficiency. But there is a gaping blank space on his map, a vast mist-shrouded region south of the Nanling Mountains, a land of dense jungles, twisting rivers, tropical diseases, and fiercely independent tribal confederations known to the Qin as the Baiyue, the 100 Yue peoples. This was not a single kingdom, but a mosaic of clans, Dong U Minyue, Western U Lui, scattered across what is now Fujian, Guangdong, Guangxi, and northern Vietnam. To the Qing court, this land was barbaric, uncivilized, and strategically vital. It held rich resources, ivory, rhinoceros, horn pearls, aromatic woods, and fertile land that could feed the empire's growing population. For Qin Shi Huang, a ruler obsessed with total control and eternal legacy, leaving the Baiyue unconquered was not an option. It was a direct insult to his claim of ruling all under heaven. What began as a simple imperial expansion would devolve into the bloodiest, most grueling campaign in Qin military history, a 7-year nightmare of jungle guerrilla warfare supply, collapse, mass death, and a last-ditch engineering miracle that saved the invasion and redrew China's map. Forever, let us start with the first invasion, a campaign of arrogance and catastrophic miscalculation. Fresh off defeating the Six Kingdoms, Qin Shi Huang believed his war machine could overwhelm any foe. In 219 BCE, he ordered General Tu Sui to lead a colossal army of 500,000 men south to crush the Baiyue in one decisive stroke. This force was not composed entirely of elite Qin veterans. It included large numbers of conscripts, exiles, merchants, and disfavored groups from the conquered states, men the empire saw as expendable. The army split into 5 columns to cover the enormous front. One column struck east to subdue Minyue in modern Fujian, which fell quickly, leading to the creation of Minzhong Commandery. The other 4 columns pushed deep into Lingnan, the heart of Baiyue territory, targeting western Wu in Guangxi and Nanyu in Guangdong. At first, the Qin advance seemed unstoppable. They burned tribal villages, seized small outposts, and pushed deep into the interior. But the Baiyue did not fight like the aristocratic armies of the Central Plains. They refused open battle. Instead, they melted into the jungles, using their intimate knowledge of the terrain to wage a relentless guerrilla war. They struck at supply columns under cover of darkness, poisoned water sources, targeted foraging parties, and faded back into the trees before Qin formations could respond. The Qin soldiers, raised in the dry, cool north, were completely unprepared for the southern environment. Torrential monsoon rains turned paths into mud bogs. Tropical diseases, malaria, dysentery, and other illnesses labeled miasma by the Qin swept through the camps, killing men by the thousands, without a single arrow fired. For 3 long years, the Qing army could not remove their armor or relax their crossbows. They were trapped in a state of permanent alert, exhausted, demoralized, and dying. The worst was yet to come. The Qin supply lines depended entirely on rough mountain roads, slow, vulnerable, and easily cut. Food and weapons ran critically short. Soldiers' starved morale collapsed. General Tu Sui, frustrated by the endless stalemate and heavy losses, grew cruel and vengeful. He ordered mass executions of local civilians, burning villages, and killing tribal leaders including the Western Wu chief, Yi Yusong. This brutality backfired spectacularly. Instead of surrendering, the Baiyue united in rage. In the daring nighttime, ambushed tribal warriors targeted Tu Sui's command camp. In the chaos, Tu Sui was killed, and his army suffered a shattering defeat. Modern scholarly estimates suggest the Qin lost tens of thousands of men in this disaster. Some ancient texts claim casualties reached hundreds of thousands, a figure debated, but reflecting the scale of the catastrophe. The first invasion was not just a defeat, it was a rout. The remaining Qin forces retreated north of the Nanling Mountains, broken and defeated. Qin Shi Huang imperial pride had been humiliated. The mightiest empire the world had ever seen had been humbled by tribal warriors with stone tools, bronze weapons, and a desperate will to survive. Most rulers would have cut their losses and abandoned the south. But Qin Shi Huang was not most rulers. He was a man of unbreakable, ruthless will. He refused to accept defeat. Instead, he diagnosed the invasion's fatal flaw, the broken supply line. To conquer the south, the Qin had to build a lifeline that could move troops, grain, and weapons safely and swiftly across the mountains. His solution was one of the greatest engineering feats of the ancient world, the Lingqu Canal. In 219 BCE, even as the first invasion faltered, the emperor appointed Shilu, an imperial inspector, to design and build a canal that would connect the Xiang River, part of the Yangtze River system, with the Li River, part of the Pearl River system. This was not a simple ditch. The project required diverting rivers, building massive stone weirs, constructing 36 lock-like sluices to manage water levels across uneven terrain, and carving through solid rock and dense forest. Tens of thousands of laborers, convicts, conscripts, and soldiers toiled for years under brutal conditions, many dying from disease, exhaustion, or accidents. When completed in 214 BCE, the 36-kilometer Lingqu Canal created a permanent water highway linking central China to Lingnan. Overnight, the Qin supply crisis was solved. Ships loaded with grain, armor, arrows, and reinforcements could sail directly from the Yangtze Basin deep into the heart of Baiyue territory. The canal was more than a military tool. It was a dagger plunged into the heart of Baiyue resistance. With the supply line secured, Huang launched a second, far more disciplined invasion. He replaced the dead Tu Sui with two steady, capable commanders, General Ren Xiao as the overall leader, and Zhao Tuo as his deputy, a man who would later found the independent Nanyu Kingdom after the Qing collapse. This second army was better trained, better supplied, and commanded by leaders who understood jungle warfare. Instead of reckless charges into the interior, the Qin used the Lingqu Canal to advance, methodically securing river valleys, building fortified outposts, and cutting off Baiyue tribal groups from one another. The Baiyue, already weakened by years of war and facing a relentless, well-supplied enemy, could not hold out. One by one, their tribal confederations fell. In 214 BCE, the Qin completed their conquest of Lingnan. To cement his victory, Huang did something that would shape southern China for millennia. He divided the region into three commanderies: Nanhai, centered on modern Guangzhou; Guilin, in modern Guangxi; and Xiang, covering parts of modern southern Guangxi and northern Vietnam. For the first time in history, this vast southern territory was placed under direct central imperial rule, governed by Qin officials, enforced by Qin laws, and integrated into the Qin bureaucratic system. But military conquest alone was not enough to hold the land. The emperor ordered a mass migration of 500,000 ordinary people from the north to settle in Lingnan, farmers, artisans, merchants, and exiled families, to intermarry with local Yue peoples, spread Qing culture, and establish permanent Chinese communities. This was not just colonization. It was systematic Sinicization, the blending of Central Plains civilization with southern tribal cultures. The conquest of the Baiyue was a turning point in Chinese history, one that is often overshadowed by the Great Wall, the Terracotta Army, or the unification of writing and weights. Let us be clear about its legacy. First, it established the basic southern border of China that would endure for over 2,000 years. Before the Qin, Lingnan was a foreign disconnected land. After the Qin, it was an inalienable part of the Chinese imperial system. Second, the Lingqu Canal remained a vital transportation artery for more than 2 millennia, facilitating trade, cultural exchange, and migration between north and south long after the Qin fell. Third, the mass settlement policy created a lasting fusion of Han and Yue cultures, laying the foundation for the unique linguistic, culinary, and social traditions of modern southern China. Fourth, it demonstrated the terrifying reach of Qin total power. The empire could mobilize hundreds of thousands of men, build world-changing infrastructure, and project force thousands of kilometers from its capital, even in the face of catastrophic defeat. But we must not ignore the human cost. Hundreds of thousands of Qin soldiers and laborers died in battle, from disease, or under the lash of forced labor. Countless Baiyue people were killed, displaced, or subjugated. Their tribal societies were disrupted, their autonomy destroyed, their way of life transformed forever by imperial rule. This was conquest, not liberation, brutal, bloody, and absolute, in the unforgiving mold of Qin Huang's vision. If you enjoyed this journey into ancient China, hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more epic history. See you next time.